TJ, I want your reaction to Peter King's football morning in America. He does this thing, 10 things I think. So there's two about the Lions here. I'll just read them. I think the Lions are regressing, which is an odd thing to say about an 8-3 team, but they can't get defensive stops the way they did earlier in the year. I thought after last week with the 3 picks thrown by Goff that it was a fluke event, but it's worrisome that the Lions have turned it over 11 times in the last 5 games after turning it over 6 times in the first 6. They've given up 29 points per game over the last 5 games. The massive comeback against Chicago may have been a mirage. I think when you give up 38-14, 38-26, and 29 points over 5 games, that's not going to put you in a league with Philly and San Francisco. I found myself wondering on Thanksgiving whether Brad Holmes will regret not going hard after a pass rusher to bookend with Aiden Hutchinson down the stretch, or maybe corner depth. It's one thing to get strafed by Justin Herbert, but another to get torched by Jordan Love. Is that fair?
Yeah, they've definitely regressed over the last 2 weeks, sure. But like John and I kind of hinted at earlier, when you're winning, you don't tend to put a giant emphasis on some mistakes, right? I mean, eventually it was going to catch up to them, right? Mm-hmm. 3 turnovers against the Raiders, still won the game. 4 turnovers against the Bears, still won the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If finally you're playing with fire, you're going to get burned. And that's what happened to him on Thursday. And look, I kind of thinking the same thing about this defense. I mean, I don't see – the pass rush is a concern.
Yes.
Just call it what it is. It is a concern. Not enough guys making anywhere close to impact plays.
Does Bruce Irvin play Sunday?
I mean, he's going to get a chance to get more practice this week, right? Certainly last week was a stretch because they didn't practice. You're not going to get into football shape by doing jog-throughs, right? I would hope that he's available sooner than later. And even if he gives you 12, 15 snaps a game, I'm sure he's a guy that can provide something.
Yeah, and I say at this point, you're not going to get into football shape until you actually play in a game.
Right, yeah. But if you can get, hey, let's say Sunday they say, Bruce, we're keeping you to 12 snaps. Can he give you more than Charles Harris and Romeo have been giving you?
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah. That's like nothing.
Right, I would think so. But
not a high bar.
I just, to me, the defensive backs, there's nobody in that defensive backfield that is like a ball hawk threat that you're like, oh man, he's got a knack for the ball. He's always around the ball. He's always a threat to take. Like, we don't have any of those guys. But that's where I get mixed feelings, because I go back to this and I say, man, negative. But then you look at it and you're like, man, but I still said I think they gave up probably 15 points in that game. So it's kind of weird. I mean, maybe you have to turn into kind of what the Patriots were for a long time. I'm not talking back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. They had some good defenses. I'm talking like the teens, the 14, 15, 16. They didn't really have anybody on defense.
Right.
But they played good red zone defense. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't care what you do from the 20s to the 20s. We're going to lock you down in the red zone. Maybe that's what this defense has to do, because they don't really have any of those playmakers that can make a huge play. And like we said, I mean, even after the Hutchinson sack against Chicago to end it, that kind of covers up a lot of the other things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, well, we got the pass rush when we needed to. That's all that matters.
It's funny. We're kind of concerned about the defense, and I give Dan Campbell credit. He always says, look, the defense is what it is. It's on offense. We have to outscore people. That's the way we're built right now.
He seems like he's way harder on the offense, too.
Yeah, because I think he knows what he has in defense.
Yeah, probably. I mean, and I think he knows that this offense, if they want a chance to win games, it's going to have to be on the O-line. It's going to have to be on the run game. And quite frankly, it's going to have to be on Jared Goff. Yeah. And but that I've noticed that's kind of a pattern. Anytime there's a game like that, it's he never puts it on the defense. It's always on the offense. And for me, I mean, maybe that's fair. But eventually, defense, you gotta start making some splash plays, right? You got to get some takeaways. You got to start punching at the ball. I mean, those are the things that this team they're going to have to rely on.
What Kirby Joseph was last year to make plays.
Probably,
like
that. Just somebody that can, somebody that can get
Kirby
home. Somebody
Joseph,
that can
James Houston.
Somebody that can give you 1 or 2 splash plays a game, right? Right now they don't have that.
Right.
All this and just listening, and I really sat back after Thanksgiving, and I know the offense. I know the identity of this team is they got to score 24 plus to win. I kind of just look at it that way. Got to play pretty clean. Look, Aaron Glenn. I mean, we're over 40 games into him being a DC. What's Aaron Glenn do that's good? I didn't even use great. I asked good. And what you said, TJ, about Campbell being more critical of the offense all the time, and I agree with that. Is Is it because Aaron Glenn is the guy brought from New Orleans? I think this is going to be a big test for Dan Campbell over time here. Is at some point your DC has to be a difference maker.
I don't think he's shying away from being critical of the defense because he's got a relationship with Aaron Glenn. I think he is. His expectations are higher for the offense because he knows what he has on offense, and it's when you've got so much promise. If you just don't turn the ball over and you could be explosive, then you look at the defense and you're not going to ask the defense to do something it can't do.
So, Bill, you guys can correct me because you play the game. Sometimes, and this is in Aaron Glenn's defense, how good can you be when you don't have great talent?
Well, and that's.
I'm asking the question.
Well, and that's where you go back, Tom, and you ask, what is he good at? I think he is good at getting the most out of his players. I do think that. I do think that, he's obviously been really good at developing plans to stop the run. I mean, for the majority of the year, and even, Green Bay, they ran up for 109 yards. That's not, that's not
But
killer.
it wasn't. I don't think it was even 4 yards a carry, was it?
It was, well, if you throw in Jordan Love's 37-yard run, it is. It
Yes.
goes up to 5 yards. But, that's what I mean. He had 40 yards of those 110. So really 70 yards from running backs. I think he does a really good job at that. But it is kind of, you're kind of right where you say Dan Campbell seems very defensive with Aaron Glenn for some reason.
Look,
and even like every time after a loss or after they take some heat and they come back and get a win, like it feels like Aaron Glenn gets the game ball. You know what I mean? Like that's been a kind of a pattern now. It felt like it's happened probably 4 or 5 times where, you see that we all watch these videos and see the post-game speeches. Aaron Glenn, great. It's always, but you never really see that with the offense. And I do think maybe it is because, like John said, the expectations are higher for the offense.
By the way,
I do think that is the right thing. If you should be able to score 24 points a game in this league.
Yep.
And with this defense, with the way they've been playing majority of the season, you should be winning most of those games. I don't think that's unfair.
I don't know the answer to this. Do the coaches give these speeches when you lose? Because we never see them.
Oh yeah, but you're not putting out a losing speech.
I know. But my point is, what are they like? Do the coaches scream after a game, or they just
I'm
say,
sure it's a little bit of everything.
Look,
after the game,
well, like
the guys already
what was
feel
McCarthy like? What was Patricia like after losses?
Well, if it depends on what kind of loss it was, right? If you blew the game and it was completely where you just everything hit the fan type game, you'll get some guys that get riled up. But most of the time, hey, look, after the game, players are already disappointed you lost, right? There's no reason to come in and scream about that. No, that's usually set up for Monday when you watch the film and you're going through the review. Then guys can get a little worked up.
It's more of a position coach,
yeah. But no, post-game loss, I haven't been a part of too many locker rooms where it's just all hell breaks loose. And
head coach generally rips the ass of the assistant coach. And then as that continues to roll downhill, the assistant coach will rip the asses of his players.
Wow.
Yes.
Take a text.
And then the players will rip their ass of the assistant coaches.
All right.
What they're thinking about.
We're setting a show record for most times using the word ass and it not coming from me. Look at the remaining schedule for Dallas and Philly. Someone's going to lose 5 games in the end. Lions are winning every game this season. Please, can we calm down? Goff goes off this week in a big bounce-back game. Oh, yeah, Dallas and Philly, they're going to lose some games. They play each other, too. That's one. Yeah. Why don't the Lions ever blitz? They can never get a pass rush. Sometimes you blitz and you don't get there, so it doesn't look like you're blitzing.
They blitzed on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
Kirby Joseph came off the edge. You're sending a 5-man pressure. Yeah. And Jordan Love still had 6 seconds to throw it 50 yards downfield.
And granted, Garoppolo's a statue, but they blitzed a lot in the Raider game. Yeah. That's why they got so many sacks. What about Kirby Joseph going off with his teammates on the sidelines? Not a good look, Pat from Romeo.
I missed that.
I missed that, too.
I missed it. No, I missed it. I think going back to the blitz, it's one thing to blitz. It's one thing to disguise. I think this defense there's a lot of strides to be taken about pre-snap, post-snap looks. I think whatever the Lions are giving you right now, defense, they line up in man coverage, it's man coverage. They line up in a pressure look, it's a pressure look. You know what I mean? There's not too many 7 guys at the line. We don't know who's coming. Oh, they bring in 8. Oh, now they're only bringing 3. You should be able to confuse some of these quarterbacks that you play, Justin Fields, Jordan Love, into mixing up those post-snap looks and maybe forcing him to make a bad throw, right? I just think too much they're just lining up and they're literally just showing you what they're running. I don't think you have the luxury of doing that unless you have some dudes that are like, I don't care if you know what we're running. We're going to beat your ass anyway. Sorry, Stoney. The ticker's going up on that word. That's, like you don't have those type of players, though. So I think that, that an easy adjustment would be to start kind of disguising what you're doing a little bit more and helping that defense out and maybe forcing these quarterbacks into making some of those mistakes.